What is up, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm here to give you a little bit of a first impressions on Helldivers 2. This game just came out on PC and PS5 a few days ago, and it's been breaking some records for PlayStation Studios. PlayStation Studios has had a lot of games sort of coming out on PC years after they release, their flagship single-player games, whether that be God of War, Horizon, any of those types of games. But with their sort of foray into wanting to make live service games, games that can be played for years and years and years, they've said that they're going to release all their live service games on PS5 and PC day one. And this game is no exception. Helldivers 2 is a little bit of a co-op game. It's a sort of land in, shoot up a bunch of bugs, get out sort of game. It's very session based and it's a lot of fun. And I just wanted to sort of give you all my first impressions on it, so here we go. Helldivers 2 has a lot of things going for it. I overall really like the game, and I really like where it's going. I've had about 13 hours of playtime just in a couple of days, been playing with friends, even had some solo experiences. I'll talk about the solo experience later, but the co-op experience is really fun playing with friends. Friendly fire is a hilarious mechanic that will oftentimes lead to rambunctious laughter or extreme rage depending on where your friendships are at. It's third person. You have a little toggle into first person, akin to a Ghost Recon. You can even see the reload happening in first person. There's a lot of detail in this game that's really nice. But the first thing I really wanted to talk about is sort of how it's played, and just the basic rundown of how it's played is you load into your ship, you make your loadout, you can buy things. You can buy armor, you can buy, with in-game currency. I'll talk a little bit about the currencies later on, but I just sort of wanted to give the rundown of the game first. You go to this sort of planetary table, you choose the planet you go to, and you're liberating it. And this sort of leads into the first thing that's really cool about this game is there's this sort of community, this overarching community goal of liberating these planets from their respective inhabitants. Now, there are aliens on one side of the galaxy and robots on the other side. That's all there is for now. But there are a lot of planets on the alien side. This game is sort of very inspired by something like Starship Troopers, with its sort of over-the-top representation of democracy and of the future of America. There's this hilarious opening sequence. If you play the game, you know what I'm talking about. It's a pretty funny, has a really fun vibe to it. The characters sort of have these overreactive, sort of hyper acted out lines that sort of sound like they come from a B movie, but that's sort of the idea, and it's really fun. I will say this game is extremely challenging. The first two difficulties are basically the game figuring out if you can press your fire button and if you can press your WASD buttons, or if you can, move your joysticks or whatever. The first two difficulties are nothing. Once it starts getting into challenging, level 3, level 4, that's when it starts getting interesting. I'll talk about the scaling a little bit later, but the game, if you're into challenging games, this game has it, and it has a lot of it. There are a lot of scaling difficulties. It goes all the way up to level 9, which is called Hell Dive. It's basically, you're just basically trying to break your monitor at that difficulty. I'll give you the brief rundown of the missions. You're basically going in either fighting a boss, destroying nests, sending message relays, all the typical stuff you'd sort of find in a game that's sort of set in this futuristic world. So that's pretty much the basic rundown of how it plays. Now first I wanted to talk about the good of this game, because I always like to start out with the good. This game has really, really good graphics. Visually looks very good. The planets are great. I've only gone to 3 planets, but all of them look really good. A lot of detail. The models of the characters, the way the cape flows around. This game has a weird emphasis on its cape physics. Sometimes it gets a little bit over dramatic with the cape physics. Like sometimes when you're in your base, your cape will just be flying and you're like, where is this wind coming from? I'm in a spaceship. Like, where is this wind coming from? But it's kind of funny. Over dramatic, just like the majority of the game is very over dramatic. The gunplay is really good. Like actually very satisfying. The way you can switch between first and third person, it's really cool. And there's one particular mission type that I really like. You're sort of launching this nuke called ICBM. I don't know what that stands for, but someone who's smarter than me can figure that out. Will probably already know. But basically you launch this missile, goes up into the sky, curves down, and you can actually watch it explode. It's a really cool moment. Hasn't really gotten old yet. Probably my favorite mission type. It's very simple how the missions go. You sort of interact with these numpads, and you have these, like, one of the cool things is, like, everything is like a mini game. Like, each time you go up to these pads, these terminals, you have to, like, input a certain up, down, left, right code. A variation of, like, up, down, left, right, up, down, right, left, up, left, right, down, you know, that sort of thing. I haven't seen that a lot in these, like, third-person games, so it adds a little bit of interactivity with that. And what I'll sort of tie that into is these things called stratagems. The stratagems are another really cool part of this game. You basically have these abilities that either have a limited use or they have a cooldown. And, well, all of them have a cooldown, but some of them have a cooldown and a limited use. A big, heavy support weapon. Or you can bring in, like, an orbital airstrike. You can bring in, like, a precision airstrike. You can bring in turrets. You can bring in extra supplies. All that type of stuff. And it sort of adds to this sort of synergization of your squad if you have a squad to play with. The customization is really nice. The armor is just really fun. There's a lot of variations of armor you can make up, sort of like, you can make your character look like a sort of Dollar Tree figurine, or you can make him look like a real Helldiver. Like, man, this guy looks crazy. Now let's get into some of the things that I'm not a huge fan of. And this first thing will be something that generally not anybody's a fan of. And it's kind of the main reason the game is falling sort of flat right now for me. The matchmaking doesn't really work at all. And who knows, maybe by the time I post this video, it will be working. I've had about 5 disconnects in 13 hours of playing. I've had a couple crashes just from the game crashing. And obviously this sort of ruins the flow of the game. You're in the middle of a big bug fight, and then the game just sort of freezes up. And it's very annoying. It got really annoying really quickly. Especially playing in groups. But fortunately, the game has a rejoin feature, so that's one positive I'll give to it. It seems like this game has a real problem with difficulty scaling. I've only played 13 hours, and, you know, I'm not 100% sure whether I'm really getting the right weapon combos, doing the right things, but it feels like the scale from level 3, which is just called, I think level 3 is just called medium, and then it goes to challenging. And that jump, I was playing with a group, and it feels like the jump from 3 to 4 is just ridiculously hard. And level 4 introduces heavy armored enemies. And the heavy armored enemies, you have to have either a rocket launcher or, you know, explosive ordnance. Sometimes it just feels like enemies spawn more than you can take care of. I don't know if the spawn rate on higher difficulties is just out, like, through the roof, but this game is basically impossible to play solo. I don't know if they just failed to sort of scale everything for solo play, but I was playing solo play before I recorded this video, and, you know, before I was actually kind of enjoying solo play, but I was doing solo at level 4, and I just was like, I don't want to play solo anymore. This game doesn't feel scaled or balanced at all for solo play. So if you don't really have a group to play with, I would say this game might be something you wait to see if they do balance patches. I hope they do balance patches, because I actually like playing this game outside of playing with groups. I like the gameplay loop. It's rare that I find a PvE game that I actually want to keep coming back to. So that's kind of something. But, you know, just right now the balancing feels very off. Some enemies are extremely strong, and some enemies are extremely annoying. And that sort of leads me into a couple annoying mechanics. Why does this game have running stamina? I don't know. For me, I just can't understand the obsession with stamina. And this is something I really want to talk about in a bigger video, because stamina is my least favorite video game mechanic. And it's probably a hot take at this point, I'll be honest, because, you know, a lot of games that I play, like survival games and all that type of stuff, my favorite video game of all time, Tears of the Kingdom, has stamina, and one of the more annoying variants of it. This game has stamina. It's a little less intrusive, but, like, I don't think you need traversal stamina in a game like this. I will gladly accept, like, you can have combat stamina in a game like this, and that would totally make sense. This game's challenging. It is meant to be challenging. It's not an easy game. The first 3 difficulties are basically like, can you press buttons properly? Everything after that is like, okay, this is the actual game. I would say challenging, the level 4, is probably like the first, like, okay, this is what we're going for with the balancing the gameplay of the game. And it's, I don't know, sometimes the enemies just get very annoying. There's mechanics where you can get slowed, and the slow is so annoying. It's unbelievable. Just like, you barely move at all. There'll be like 4 of these enemies that can slow you one at a time. They'll just lash at you one at a time, and each of them will compound the slowing mechanic more and more. And it's so annoying. You got to dive out of it, and then, but they can jump at you, so it doesn't matter if you dive out of it. They can jump at you and attack you again and slow you again. And on top of that, there are a lot of other things that can do it too. Like, you just run over a random plant and it'll slow you. And obviously that's just part of the challenge of the game. I'm just saying this as a fact. It's not part of my annoyance. It just kind of feels like there's too much that can really screw you over in a fight. And I guess that's kind of skill issue at that point, but I'm just kind of saying I'm not a fan of it personally. It doesn't really edge up against my opinion of the game compared to stamina. I really don't think there should be traversal stamina. I think it completely screws with the flow of the game, and I don't mind combat stamina, but I think the devs should seriously consider either heavily increasing the amount of stamina you get when just running around the world, or just remove stamina entirely from when you're walking around and make it so that stamina only toggles when you're in that sort of actual combat. If you don't mind it, you'll probably be fine with it. It's just me. But overall, like I said, I really enjoy this game. I'll sort of tag this video out here. There's been a lot of controversy around this game too, considering it's, you know, referring to a potential of pay to win. Now, I'll sort of give my 2 cents here. Basically, there are 2 currencies. There's medals, which you use to buy specific things, and then there's super credits. Super credits are used for either buying cosmetics, or super credits can be used to buy armor. Now, you get super credits from the free battle pass. There is a sort of battle pass system, and you get super credits from completing that battle pass. You don't get enough super credits from completing that battle pass to buy the premium version. And this is where this game gets a little bit weird for me. Premium battle pass does have things in it that you can't get from the regular battle pass. And while this is a PvE game, and I'll give it a little bit of a pass for being a PvE game, it is very strange, and I caution the devs to not continue down this path of adding items that can actually improve your gameplay. Now, most of the armor I've seen in the paid version is almost identical to the regular armor, but with a few extra perks. But if those perks start to become insane, and you're starting to incentivize your players to buy the super credits with real money, which you can do, instead of just trying to find them in-game, it's pretty hard to find them in-game too. I was finding a few, but it felt like as I went on, I was finding less and less. And it just feels like they may have already nerfed the spawn rate. If they nerf the spawn rate of these super credits, they're just incentivizing you more to buy them. And buying the premium battle pass gives you access to stuff that you just can't outright get with the medals. Now fortunately, medals are the way you actually physically unlock them. So as long as you find enough super credits, you'll eventually get the battle pass. And that's where I'll sort of say it sort of levels out, in my opinion. You can find enough super credits eventually to unlock the battle pass, the premium battle pass. And the medals, you cannot buy the medals. So you technically cannot outright buy better stuff. You can buy the battle pass that unlocks the ability to buy better stuff. But once you unlock the premium battle pass, you can't actually buy medals, which is a good thing. If you could buy medals, it would be outright pay to win, and I probably wouldn't even be making this video because I wouldn't have bought the game. But I think that is sort of balances out enough. I will still caution the devs to try to put the gameplay affecting stuff in the free battle pass, the one that you just get from progression. Just make sure all the weapons, all the armor, all the chest armor is in that free battle pass. And you can put as many capes, as many emotes, as many helmets as you want in the paid one. I know you have to fill up the paid battle pass with stuff, but like there's plenty of other stuff you can do, like recoats, like coatings for armor, stuff like that. That's what Halo did. Even though I hate the coatings in Halo, but that's whatever. Overall, I do think the monetization is fair. Some people will see it as explicitly pay to win. It's a PvE game, so it's not as egregious, but I still think it's a bit weird. And like I said, I would hope the devs would maybe be precautioned to not add so many gameplay affecting things in the paid version. But as long as they keep up with being able to find the super credits in game, I'm totally fine with it. Let me know what you think of Helldivers 2 in the comments below. Are you playing it? Are you enjoying it? Do you think it's pay to win, or are you just not really caring? If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and hit the subscribe button for more videos just like this. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.